You ever had that moment when you realize the people claiming to protect you are actually the ones putting you in danger? Yeah, that happened to me. The morning Karen Vanderbilt stormed my ranch with her little army of HOA enforcers, I should have known she wasn't just some control freak obsessed with mailbox colors. But I didn't. I thought she was just another Karen drunk on a tiny bit of authority. Turns out, she was playing a much bigger game. And I was the last piece she needed to knock off the board. I remember standing on my porch, staring at her white SUV as it rolled up my dirt driveway like I was some cartel boss. Her blonde bob caught the morning light, and she had that smug look. You know, the kind of look people wear when they think they're winning before the fight even starts. She slapped that bright red sticker on my truck like it was some scarlet letter, then announced to the world, or at least to my neighbors, that Jake Morrison was now officially Pine Ridge's public enemy number one. And the worst part? People believed her. By noon, my reputation was shredded online. Folks I'd fixed fences for, plowed driveways for, were suddenly treating me like I was plotting to overthrow the government. But here's what Karen didn't know, or maybe she knew and didn't care. The equipment she hauled away, my traps, cameras, rifles, wasn't for show. It was the only thing standing between this neighborhood and a nightmare moving steadily closer through the woods. 27 massive wild boars, each one the size of a small car, tusks like knives. I'd spent 15 years studying these animals, and trust me, they weren't just out for a stroll. They were organized, moving like a damn army. But to Karen, I was just some unstable man with too many guns. So she took them all, smiling like she'd just saved the world. And in doing so, she doomed it that I tried to warn her. Showed her footage of those shapes creeping closer to Pine Ridge. But she just waved me off, her perfectly manicured hand cutting through my words like a blade. The residents have spoken, she said, dripping with condescension. They don't want a cowboy running around with weapons. You know what I wanted to say? Lady, you're about to wish you had 20 cowboys. And I wasn't wrong. That very night, chaos hit. Boars ripped through fences, flipped over cars, turned people's pets into dinner. I heard Mrs. Patterson screaming through the phone at 2 in the morning, her voice shaking as she yelled, "They're in my house, Jake." They killed Whiskers. I had nothing left but a wooden baseball bat, but I couldn't just sit there. So I ran straight into that chaos that I'll never forget. The first one I faced up close. Eyes reflecting the streetlight, cold and calculating, almost human. I swung that bat with everything I had. The impact rattled my arms to the bone, but it bought enough time for the Hernandez family to escape inside. For 3 hours, I fought, not just the animals, but fear itself. Carried kids to safety, pulled old couples out of their homes, helped Maria Santos and her daughter when their car stalled. I wasn't thinking about Karen or the HOA, or how they'd painted me as some lunatic. I was just trying to keep people alive, and then I saw her. Karen, sitting in her pristine SUV 3 blocks away, calm as ever, phone held high, recording everything. Not calling for help, not lifting a finger, just filming, like it was a damn reality show. That's when I knew this wasn't incompetence. It was deliberate. She wanted this. She needed this disaster to justify whatever she had planned next. Maria arrived just in time to witness the confrontation. Karen rolled down her window, that same smug smile glued to her face. Mr. Morrison, brandishing weapons during a community emergency, could be considered assault. I'm recording for legal action. Can you believe that? Meanwhile, Maria yelled back, her voice shaking but strong. I saw you, Karen. He saved my daughter's life while you sat here doing nothing. And for the first time, I saw doubt flicker in Karen's eyes. Be wide dawn. Maria's video of me rescuing neighbors had gone viral. People were starting to question Karen's narrative. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no. She hit back with a perfectly edited video painting me as the villain. Clips of me swinging the bat, stripped of context, made to look like I was attacking people. Comment sections turned ugly again, and for a few hours, I thought maybe she'd win. Then Tommy Chin stepped in. If Karen was a queen on a chessboard, Tommy was the guy flipping the table. He'd been quietly digging into the HOA for weeks, And he had receipts, emails, surveillance footage, GPS logs. Karen had been staging this entire thing for months. She'd even orchestrated the wild boar attacks by having fences deliberately cut, funneling the animals toward the neighborhood. And the emails, they were smoking guns. Phase 1 complete. Morrison disarmed. Proceed with land seizure. Those words were burned into my brain. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Not even me. My grandmother, 91 years old, tougher than anyone I know, recovering from chemo, and she drops a bombshell that changes everything. Turns out our ranch wasn't just a ranch. Back in the Cold War, it was a classified communications bunker, part of a federal defense program. And guess what? That designation still stood, which meant all my equipment, all my actions, fully protected under federal law. Karen's whole case against me crumbled in an instant. I went live from that bunker, broadcasting everything. Emails, footage, satellite images. Thousands watched as I exposed Karen, Brad Stevens, and Councilman Slater for the corrupt snakes they were. And just as the crowd outside my ranch grew, neighbors, farmers, even people who'd turned their backs on me, the real cavalry showed up. FBI agents, tipped off by Tommy's evidence, stormed in and arrested half the HOA board on federal charges. But Karen wasn't done. Even as they put cuffs on her, she made one last call. Implement Plan B, she whispered into her phone. And that's where things get murky. Because as I stood there, victorious, surrounded by cheering neighbors, Tommy's voice buzzed in my ear. Jake, Plan B isn't about Karen. There's someone bigger behind this, and they're not going quietly. So yeah, we won that day. But as I looked toward the tree line, wind rustling through the leaves, I couldn't shake the feeling this wasn't over. Somewhere out there, someone was already moving their next piece on the board. And maybe next time, they won't just send wild boars. What do you think, folks? Was justice really served? Or is this just the beginning of something much darker? Drop your thoughts below, because I've got a feeling Pine Ridge's Real fight is just getting started. And trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. You know that feeling when you win a battle, but deep down you know the war's just getting started? That's exactly where I was standing when they dragged Karen Vanderbilt away in cuffs. Neighbors were cheering. Maria hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, and even old Pete was crying like a kid at a baseball game. But my gut was screaming that we'd only knocked down the first domino. Karen wasn't the mastermind. She was a pawn, an ambitious, conniving pawn, sure, but someone else was holding the strings. And then Tommy's voice cut through the noise in my earpiece, sharp and tense. Jake, Plan B is live. Whoever Karen called, they're moving now. I've got black SUVs with covered plates headed your way again. This time there's no HOA stickers, no fake enforcement uniforms. These guys are the real deal. The crowd outside my ranch was still clapping, holding up phones, recording the victory. I wanted to tell them to run, to get as far away from here as possible. But how do you shout that without sounding like a paranoid maniac after you've just been declared a hero? And before I could decide, I heard engines, deep, throaty engines, approaching fast. And I looked up the dirt road, and there they were. 5 matte black trucks, no markings, headlights cutting through the late afternoon haze. The way they moved, staggered formation, perfectly spaced. You didn't have to be a soldier to know these guys were trained. The cheering stopped. Neighbors started backing away, some filming, some just frozen in place. Maria grabbed my arm, her voice a whisper, Jake, what do we do? And for a second, I felt that old fear creeping back, the same one I felt the night the boars hit the neighborhood. But then my grandmother's words echoed in my head. You have not just the right, but the responsibility to defend this land. I turned to Maria, my voice low but steady. Get everyone inside the barn, lock the doors. If anything happens, go live on Facebook again. Show everything. She looked like she wanted to argue, but one look at my face, and she just nodded, grabbed Pete, and started herding people away. The truck stopped 30 yards from my front porch. Dust hung in the air like a curtain, and then a man stepped out of the lead vehicle. Tall, built like he'd been carved out of granite, dressed in tactical gear that screamed private contractor, not law enforcement. His head was shaved, his jaw clenched, and when he pulled off his sunglasses, his eyes were dead. "Mr. Morrison," he called out, his voice calm, too calm, like a teacher scolding a kid who'd spilled juice on the carpet. "You're in violation of an emergency property seizure order authorized by the Pine Ridge Development Authority. We're here to secure this land. Step aside, and nobody gets hurt." I almost laughed. "You got a court order? Signed by who?" "Because last I checked, the HOA president's in federal custody." He didn't smile. He didn't even blink. "Step aside, or we'll remove you by force." And that's when something in me snapped. Weeks of being painted as a villain, of fighting tooth and nail just to protect the people who'd turned their backs on me, of watching Karen smirk while recording families running from the chaos she created, it all boiled over that I reached into the bunker, where my grandfather's Cold War cash was waiting like a ghost from history. I pulled out something I never thought I'd use, a tactical shotgun, military issued, perfectly maintained. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. "Jake, are you crazy? You're going to shoot at mercenaries." But I wasn't planning on starting a war. I just needed to remind them I wasn't some scared homeowner with a baseball bat anymore. "You step onto this property, you're violating federal defense statutes," I said, holding the shotgun low, not aimed at anyone yet. "And I guarantee the FBI agents still parked at the end of this road will be real interested in watching me defend classified government land." The lead contractor tilted his head slightly, almost like he was calculating odds. He didn't lower his weapon. Oh yeah, they were armed, rifles slung tight across their chests. But for the first time, I saw hesitation. Then a voice crackled through his earpiece, loud enough for me to catch a few words. "Change of plan. Go to phase 2. Secure the bunker first." His eyes shifted, just for a second, toward the underground entrance behind me. And that's when I realized the truth. This wasn't about development, or even the land. They wanted what was under it. "Tommy," I muttered into my mic, keeping my eyes on the contractors, "did you hear that?" "Yeah," he answered, his fingers flying over his keyboard back at my cabin. "Jake, they're not just mercenaries. I just traced one of the vehicle signals. They're ex-military, contracted through a Slater subsidiary with ties to private defense companies. Whatever's in that bunker, they think it's worth killing for." And then it happened. Gunfire in the distance, sharp and fast, not aimed at me, but at something else. I glanced past the trucks and saw smoke rising near the tree line. Phase 2 wasn't just about me. They were trying to scare people off the land, maybe even start a fire that would accidentally wipe out the whole area that I didn't wait. "Tommy, get that live stream back up now. Show the world what they're doing." Within seconds, Tommy had hacked into the bunker's broadcast system again, pushing live footage of the armed contractors and the burning woods onto every platform we used before. My phone buzzed with notifications as thousands joined the stream in real time, comments flooding in. "What the hell is happening? Aren't those federal crimes?" The mercenary leader realized what was happening too, and his calm mask finally cracked. "Take him down," he barked. The first shot whizzed past me, hitting the porch rail, and for a split second, everything slowed. The kind of slow where you can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. I ducked behind the bunker entrance, returning fire, not to kill but to keep them pinned. Wood splintered, dirt flew, neighbors screamed from inside the barn. Then, unexpected twist, Pete Miller, 70 years old with his arms still bandaged, came running out of the barn with 3 other farmers, all holding tools like pitchforks and axes. "Jake's not standing alone," Pete yelled, his voice shaking but fierce. And just like that, more people followed, Maria among them. Filming live with one hand while holding a crowbar in the other, the contractors didn't expect resistance, not from regular folks. And the sight of over 50 angry townspeople rushing out, armed with whatever they could grab, changed the math fast. "Fall back," the leader finally ordered, retreating toward the trucks, but his eyes locked on me the whole time. Like a silent promise, they drove off, engines roaring. I stood there catching my breath, shotgun still in hand, neighbors gathering around me, some crying, some cheering. But I couldn't shake the feeling this wasn't a victory. Tommy's voice came through again, quieter now, almost worried. Jake, I just decrypted another file from Karen's emails. Plan B wasn't the final step. There's a Plan C, and it involves someone way higher up than Slater. I looked toward the horizon where the trucks disappeared, smoke still rising from the woods, and felt that cold knot in my stomach tighten. You know what? I said out loud, mostly to myself, but loud enough for Maria to hear. I think we just pissed off the wrong people. She didn't smile. So what now? I looked at the bunker door, then at the faces of my neighbors, some still shaking from fear, others starting to believe for the first time that we could actually fight back. We get ready, I said, slinging the shotgun over my shoulder. Because this isn't over. Not even close. And as the sun dipped behind the trees, painting the sky blood orange, I couldn't help but wonder, what's Plan C? And how far are they willing to go to take what's ours? What do you think, folks? Did we just win a small fight? Or are we about to face something way bigger than Pine Ridge? Drop your thoughts below, because the next chapter might be the one where everything changes.